So I realized the other day I'm basically following the diet that I always wanted, 10 years ago at least. And obviously there's been some concessions and compromises along the way. There's been things that I've tried, and in hindsight, only in hindsight, but I'm like, well, that was, I thought it was quite measured. I thought it was a good thing to try at the time, but in hindsight, I was like, well, that was a bit foolish, wasn't it? So there's things I've had to walk back on and do sort of handshake deals on and settle with, even though I wasn't 100% comfortable. Concessions, in other words. But generally speaking, every instinct, I'm being hyperbolic, not every, but a lot of the instincts I had when I was 17, 18, walking into the gym for the first time, picking up weights for the first time, reading, health and nutrition blogs for the first time online. YouTube started getting really big around that age for me. And I started going down the rabbit hole with health and fitness stuff on YouTube. Every instinct I had at that time, it's actually bared out to this day. Like, my diet resembles a lot of those instincts. It's then that I just suppressed and ignored or walked back on some of those instincts in the last 10, 12, 13 years, where there's been ups and downs and obviously learnings along the way. But a lot of the things that I wanted, I'm now doing. And I realized this week, and I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. And I didn't have the name for it 10, 12 years ago, vegan, slim and sustain. And I didn't have my mantra about big plates, small calories. I hadn't got any of the other IP, like the Easy Bowls, Ryan's Signature Cereal Bowl. I hadn't productized my whole shtick, my whole philosophy in my mind, of course, back then. But I loved cereal when I was a kid. I loved cereal 15 years ago. I liked muesli because my mother's from Switzerland 16 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And so now I'm doing Ryan's Signature Cereal Bowl with loads of muesli most mornings. And really awesome. The full circling is really, really cool. And like I said, I didn't have a name for it, but 10 years ago at least, I knew I wanted to do the vegan thing. I had a big sort of epiphany on that, and I watched some of the slaughterhouse stuff, and I was like, this is disgusting to me. I can't partake. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. But as much as I want to do the vegan thing, I want to do this the right way. I want to do this healthily. And this is back in 15, where it started getting huge. And back at the start of 2015, as far as I recall, the vegan section in Tesco's was about this bloody big, a couple of rows of products. By the end of that year, it was half a bloody aisle. It was blowing up. And this stuff tasted good, and I tried some of it, but I was crystal clear. I know this isn't right. I know enough. My knowledge on nutrition is not perfect at this stage. Neither is it today, of course. But I knew enough to know, hey, I don't want lots of this super processed stuff. So that was the thing. I want to do the vegan thing. Let's do this right. Let's do this in a healthy manner, not just live on Oreos and fake meats all day long. This is another inkling I had. Again, 17, 18, I hated the idea of counting calories. I thought, that's not, I can see the benefits of it, but that's not quite right to me, because I know I'm not going to sustain that. I know it's going to make me a little bit neurotic about the quantitative nature of food rather than the quality of food. And I just thought, as a paradigm, that's not really a hat that I want to wear. Speaking a bit figuratively here, but that's not really a lens that I want to judge nutrition through all the time, just the number aspect of it, or rather the caloric value aspect of it. And so I was really clear on that. And then I did 18 months. I suppressed that, and I did 18 months because I heard it was the best thing to do, of tracking on MyFitnessPal virtually every single day. And it drove me absolutely nuts. And then I came back to, no, I was right in the first instance. I want a way to do this without counting calories, even if it's harder. And that's what we've such developed. But it's an approach now that I have where, even though I don't literally count my calories with MyFitnessPal, there's still understanding of the importance of calories. There's still calorie awareness. I still knew what I knew at 17, 18 years old. Oh, this calorie thing is real. That's really important to understand to get in good shape. Simultaneously, please don't make me track them every single day. And that's where we've come back to now. Again, full circling on it. Keto was another thing getting really popular in 15, maybe 2010 actually, to be honest. Keto was blowing up. It was paleo before that. But even at 17, 18, I was like, there were periods where I cut carbs, but I knew it wasn't right. It was against every instinct. And I played a lot of sport growing up, and so I kind of came at the carbohydrate conversation a lot from a performance perspective. There is the health argument as well, about there's lots of health misconceptions about carbohydrates nutritionally. But from a performance aspect, I already understood the value of having a higher carbohydrate diet, playing a bit of, not too seriously or semi-professionally or anything like that, but playing lots of sport, various sports growing up. I understood the carbohydrate thing. So I was like, I really don't want to do a low carb diet. And lo and behold, now I'm eating a diet where 50% of my, we've got our quick oats here and lots of fruit, 50% of my calories now is coming from, or slightly more actually, coming from carbohydrates. By all definitions, that's a higher carbohydrate diet. It just seems stupid to me, like this carb avoidance, as though that was the problem, more so than from a weight loss perspective, calories, more so than from a health and nutrition perspective, like the actual quality of the source of the carbohydrate, acknowledging that there is a difference between eating pizza and eating the yogurt bowl with healthier carbohydrates, obviously, or you would think it's obvious, obviously. And like another kind of instinct, another thing that, let's say a deal breaker to me 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I knew from all the previous mistakes I'd made and doing dieting, weight loss really aggressively, really unsustainably. Again, in hindsight, I didn't think it was going to be unsustainable at the time. I was naive to this at the time. But I knew I had to make the whole thing easy. That was a big thing in 2015, excuse me. I was like, I really need this to be very, very simple, because I've tried, simple is the wrong word. Simplicity is important too, but particularly the point I'm getting at is easy. I don't want to feel the effects of a very, very aggressive calorie deficit. I don't want to start losing libido again, like I was when I was doing like lots of the extreme, I did a really extreme weight loss cut in early 15, maybe late 14, and the libido starts going like this, and that's not right. And I knew inherently that's not right. And then from your research, you're like, oh yeah, that's a side effect of dragging one's calories too long. Of course, these are lessons that you learn along the way. It's not just that I was such an idiot. Like, these are important lessons that stay with you, and they're kind of part and parcel of the process. Sometimes you take things too far. But yeah, that was big. Like, I know that this has got to be easy, it's got to feel sustainable to me, otherwise it's not going to be sustainable. So I was in the fast impatience mindset before, and it's kind of 2014, 2015, I'm like, oh, that ain't right. Like, this has got to be sustainable. And so now I'm happy to say that I'm following a diet, lo and behold, whereby I will never compromise sustainability with speed. I will never, there's moments where I'm like, oh, I could get really shredded and take some really cool photos for my social media, because it's my job now, right? And that adds a different level of pressure, but a level of pressure I'm happy with, but it does add another burden. I could post some shredded photos of my abs on Instagram in a couple of weeks. And it's like, I'll have a tan by then, summer will be coming, or I'm going to Thailand, Asia last year, whatever. And every time I've been faced with that temptation, I've said no. Because you ain't going to stick to it, because it might start leading to binges again, like all of the places we do. It might lead to rebound again because you push it too far, Ryan. And just having that boundary set very clear. This has to be easy for me. I want this to be sustainable, right? None of this fast weight loss cut before. We did a trip to Center Parcs around my birthday, I think in early 15, and I was like intent on doing a really fast cut before then, so I had abs by the pool. And I did it. I looked quite good. It's nowhere near as lean as today, but by those standards, I was quite pleased with the result. But the process for those 4 or 5 weeks was absolutely savage. And just that learning experience, like, well, okay, we're not pushing it that far again. That was too far. So yeah, of course, there's some stuff, to be transparent, that I've had to compromise along the way. It would be nice to still crush a whole packet of Oreos or Hobnobs and still have abs. Like, not every day, but I'm realistic, but still have abs every now and again. Well, turns out that you can't really do every now and again with hyper-palatable processed foods, because it just stays in your sort of familiarity and your behavioral patterns. It's very hard to get over foods when you binge them in those large quantities very frequently. You kind of stay an addict, is my experience. Another thing that I've had to compromise on is my diet is a little bit repetitive, and sometimes I think it would be more fun to have more variety and more options. And I could still do that whilst remaining being in good shape. But again, you start compromising. I spoke about simplicity earlier. You start compromising simplicity. Is that then a threat to your consistency? Yes, it's my experience. That pendulum has swung too far for me in the past, and that's why I'm so big on, no, keep it really simple now. So yeah, my diet can seem, I think, from the outside a little bit repetitive and stale and boring. Sometimes I have that feeling, but that's when I just introduce a new meal, like the yogurt bowls. Right? It's case in point, which I started doing this summer, and I wasn't really doing them before. And I've said before, like, one new sexy, maybe that's a stretch for a yogurt bowl, but a new exciting sexy meal in your rotation is enough to really lift you out of the temptation of, oh, screw my diet, I hate it, this is so boring, let me just order pizza. And so adding those new meals on occasion, but really just having this core philosophy of 5 to 6 meals. Again, I knew this inherently at 16, 17, 18 years old when I'm getting into the gym, getting into health and fitness. Like, I just want to eat roughly the same meals every day. And then you get dragged through all these different paradigms when you start learning about stuff on the internet. So yeah, concessions that I've made along the way, but generally speaking, I'm happy to report in hindsight, I think this is more or less a lifestyle that I envisaged for myself 10, 11, 12 years ago. And that's a really cool feeling, like this mix between healthy structure, a little bit of rule bending and flexibility, and yes, could I be even leaner? Could my risk factors for major chronic disease be 3% lower if I didn't bend the rules a little bit and have the occasional almond croissant? When I meet a nice young lady for a day, enjoy a G&T with her, enjoy an old-fashioned, little bit of whiskey with her. Yeah, maybe. Well, definitely we can argue this, right? There's an argument for that. But the feeling of, I can still stay relatively lean, you know, in good shape. I've come a long way in 10 years. It's not about being the leanest person. It's about being much better. This is so trite, isn't it? So cliche. But being so much better than I was 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12 years ago. To see all that progress and still have a bit of flexibility, well, that feels really, really cool to me, right? Not cut out a whole macro, still eating the carbs like I talked about earlier on. Eating, you know, healthy fat sources, protein, but doing it with the vegan way because I think ethically, directionally, yeah, that's correct to me. That feels right to me. It feels like the right way to do things for me. And yeah, after 10 years eating this way, this is certainly the new normal to me now. It feels like the default setting, and I don't get too distracted or tempted by other approaches because, number one, it served me so well, but two, I've been doing it so long that it's just habitual. I just wake up and I want to eat this way. It makes me feel freaking awesome, and I'm used to it. That's another thing as well. I'm used to it. It's not just that it makes me feel good. Don't underplay, guys, would be my advice. The value of just doing something every single day, and you get conditioned to that behavior pattern on such unconscious/subconscious level that you just wake up and you fall into the routine without too much. Everyone's on about discipline over motivation. When stuff is habitual, you don't even need discipline. I agree that discipline usurps motivation in terms of power and importance, effectiveness, but what usurps discipline is actually, it's part of your behavioral pattern to just eat this way. And that's what you get when you're doing this for months consistently, years then, and now over a decade consistently. So yeah, after a decade, this is how I eat. I love it. And it's so interesting that I've come back full circle. I've spoken about myself exclusively in this video, so I don't know if this is interesting to people, but excuse my notifications there. But coming full circle with lots of the instincts that I had when I was first getting into this stuff, that's pretty cool. Of course, there's been concessions. There's been bad habits that I've had to fix the hard way, and it took a long time. But yeah, super worth it in the end, I'm happy to say. If you like my approach and want my help to get in your best shape ever in 2026 at the turn of the year, reach out and I'll send you all the details about working with me personally on my coaching program, Vegan, Slim and Sustain. The link to fill out the application form there will be down below. I'll be in touch with all the details very shortly. See you soon.